Kathleen Jasper here, and we are live on November 1st, 2025 for our Praxis Core certification exam. So I'm just going to let everybody come on into the room right now. I want to make sure I'm live everywhere. It doesn't look like, there we go. I am live. Hang on. And we are live today for the Praxis Core. This is the teacher certification exam many of you have to take. Let me know in the chat that you can hear me and see me okay. Good morning, good morning, good morning. And today we're going to be giving away some Praxis Core study guides as well. So let me go ahead and refresh here and make sure. And it looks like you can. I'm having a little technical difficulties with my YouTube channel at the moment. So give me 1 second. Talk amongst yourselves. All right. Good morning. Happy Saturday. Let me know where you are from and when you are taking the Praxis Core. Many of you are taking the one, this might be to get you into the College of Education. Some of you may be career changers. Let me know how your studies are going. And I'm just trying to figure out what is going on with my YouTube because I got to make sure I'm live on YouTube. So give me 1 second. I don't know why my YouTube channel is not going live for this. Let's see. One more time because it needs to be live on YouTube. Let's save it. Public, save. There we go. We should be live. If not, I can always upload it later. But for some reason, my YouTube channel is not going live. Talk amongst yourselves 1 more second. I'm so sorry to do this to you, but sometimes we're live and yeah, it's not working. I am not sure why. Well, let's just make sure. One more thing here. Oh, I'm live. Okay, never mind. I'm live. Anyway, so I'm Kathleen Jasper. We are doing the Praxis Core today. I just wanted to make sure I was live on social. I am live on Facebook and YouTube. So if you're watching me right now in those channels, there's a link in the description for you to download the free study guide that we will be working from today. I'm going to go through the whole entire thing and I'm going to do all of the math today. So if you are here for math, you are in the right place. Of course, we're going to go through everything else. Reading is a little tricky because we're online. And so I'm not going to read to you, but I'm going to show you my tried and true reading strategies for those of you who are struggling with that. Let's go ahead and just check out who's in the chat right now. We've got Kendall from Maryland. We have Mara Cruz from North Carolina. Some of you are taking this next weekend. Samantha, I'm so nervous about the math section. Totally fine. We're going to cover a lot of math today. I decided to do the whole thing. So Trina is saying she passed math and reading. She needs to work on the writing. We're going to work a lot on that constructed response as well, those argumentative essays and the source-based essays. I'm going to show you how to do that. And we should have a few people from a college. I forget which college they said. If you're in here from a teacher college, let me know. I've got a message from you guys on my Instagram. So let me go ahead and find that. And I get so many messages, I can't remember, but one of you contacted me because it was like required for you to come here for your College of Education. So let me know if you're here. And I'm so glad you guys are, because it's so much fun to engage with the colleges of education. WGU, that's it. WGU. Nice to see you guys. Let me know if you were from WGU. I got a message from a student from your program and said that you guys are required to come today. So I'm so happy to help you guys out today. And I'm really excited we're here. So let's jump into it since we had a little technical glitch in the beginning, or what I thought was a technical glitch. Now, Jason just said, I'm taking the combined in 3 weeks. So the Praxis Core 5713, 5723, and 5733 are the same as the Praxis Core 5752. I believe, Jason, let me know if that's the number. I'm in all these tests all the time, but sometimes I forget the number of the combined, but it's the same. Some of you will take the whole thing together, which is the combined, and some of you will take it as subtests, but it's all the same content. It's just the way it's administered. Now, I'm going to talk about the one that's separated subtests. Let's say, and we have somebody in here who said she passed the reading and the math, but he or she, I can't remember who you were, but you need to pass the writing. So you don't have to retake the math and the reading if the only thing you were left to pass is the writing. That's kind of the beauty of when they're broken up in subtests like this. So you may be, better at math and you might be better at reading, and then the writing, maybe the constructed response tripped you up and you have to retake that. And that is really no big deal because many people have to take this test several times, especially those of you who are career changers and you haven't seen math like this in 20 something years, right? You haven't taken an exam like this since you took the SAT or the ACT. This is like an ACT or an SAT. It's a little bit easier. The math goes up to about 10th grade, and it is the position of states that we require our teachers to be proficient in the areas that we expect our high school graduation students who are graduating from high school to have those same skills. Now, you might say, well, I'm not going to be a math teacher. I'm going to be a middle school social studies teacher. They still want you to have those basic math skills, and they are called basic skills according to the states. I think they're a little more advanced than basic. Some of them, you will have a little slope intercept on this. I mean, I feel like that's a little more than basic, but we're going to go through all of it today. Now, if you are watching this webinar, inside the chat, meaning you're inside Vimeo where we're like in a webinar, you're not on Facebook or YouTube, you received a free study guide that I will be going over all of it today in the email. I'm also going to be providing you with the constructed response that we do today in a follow-up email. If you're watching this in the future, you already have all that. The links are available once you sign up. So if you're watching this from YouTube in the future, there's a link in there for you to put your name in and download everything. Also, we're going to give away, it's only for the live. So if you're watching in the future, you can't get the books because we only do this live. We're going to give away 2 Praxis Core books. These are huge. These are my study guides for Praxis Core. We're giving away 2, and I'm going to stop periodically to give those away. So make sure there's a link in the description in Vimeo. You have to be in the actual webinar to put your name in. We're going to randomly draw, and I'm going to send you a book. Okay. We've got 2 today. So help people out in the chat. Sometimes people are saying, I can't hear you. They probably have their broadcast muted. So if you could tell them to unmute the broadcast, help out your fellow people here. The broadcasts are usually muted by default, so you might have to unmute it. Okay. I also have Yana in my chat here. She's going to give you guys an offer code to get 20% off of all of our products. And she's in the chat to also help you with questions that you have. Okay. So let's go ahead and have a look at everything that's going on with the Praxis Core. All right. This is a big exam. Many states require their teachers to take this exam. The Praxis Core is divided into 3 main subtests, meaning 3 main big sections, all right? We have the reading, 5713. We have the writing, 5723, and that writing includes grammar, multiple choice. So things like where does the comma go and all of that. And it also includes a constructed response, a writing task. So you will have to write for this exam. And then finally, the last subtest is math, 5733. All right. Now, on the reading portion, the 5713, you will have short passages that could be just a paragraph with one question. You could have longer passages that are like 3 or 4 paragraphs. You could have double passages, passage A and passage B. And you could have graphics where you have to analyze, some sort of graphical information, infographics, stuff like that. For the English, or the writing, I should say, you're going to have multiple choice questions on grammar and mechanics. So like I said before, where the comma goes, is this a semicolon? Should you use whom versus who, depending on what question it is? You'll also have something in the multiple choice called rhetorical. Rhetorical questions are about where an author could put this sentence so it would have a more logical flow. Those types of questions that ask you to order the sentences, better. Maybe they give you a paragraph and the sentences are all jumbled and you have to rearrange them. That's rhetorical. It's all about the way in which the language is kind of communicated. It's not necessarily grammar rules. It's more about if the author were to add this sentence, where would it best be placed? Those kind of questions. And then on the writing, I said before, is the essay part where you have to write for 2 essays. The first one is argumentative and the second one is source-based. I'm going to go over both of them today, and I'm going to write an essay for both of them today. And you're going to get the follow-up in an email after this webinar is over. If you're watching in the future, you already have that email. And then finally, math. Math is broken up between number sense, algebra, and geometry, probability, and stats. And again, we're going to go over all of that today. All right. So let me know in the chat if you have any questions. I think I have somebody who's kind of being like not very nice in the chat. I might have to remove, but I'm not sure. Just keep an eye on it. Anyways, Tony, you say you need the book. We have it on our website. Everything I'm going to be talking about today is on the website. I'm going to show you the online course later. I'm going to show you where to get the book later, but I sort of want to jump in as to what we're going to be doing today. All right. I'm going to share my screen with you, and I'm actually just going to share the PDF of the free study guide that came with this. So I'm just going to sort of scroll around and work through this. Normally I put everything in a presentation, but as I was working through this today, I thought, let me just go to the PDF and display that and move on. But for the source-based and argumentative essays, I'm going to do that in presentation form, and then you're going to get a follow-up email with all of that. Okay. All right. Someone's asking, will this help with the 7003 and the 7005? The math might help you a little bit with the 7003, but the sevens, that test is a new elementary education test. I've done a webinar previously on that. This is specifically for the Praxis core. I need to take 7813 and teaching reading 5205. Kendall, I have webinars on those as well on my website. I would stick around for the math though. The math is coming at the end. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So everybody, if you have your study guide, that's great. If you don't, just follow along. You can download the study guide later. And if you're on social, just follow along with me. You can download all this stuff later as well. I'm projecting literally everything on the screen, so you don't have to fumble around trying to print anything out. Do it later, and you can always rewatch this. This is recorded, okay? So let's go ahead and let me go to share my entire screen. I have a new, there we go. I have a new screen, and it's one of these big ones so I can edit books, but it's long. I don't know, some of you gamers out there may have the same one. It is actually a gamer screen, so it's kind of long. So I'm trying to make it so I can show the whole thing here. But I'm going to monitor on my little phone to make sure that everything is looking good. And so it looks like I am perfect. Sharing screen. There's some little sidebars there on my desktop, but I think this is good enough. We will go this way. All right. So let's talk about the first section, the Praxis core reading. This is called the 5713. Okay. Let me just make my pencil thickness a little thicker. This is the first section. And again, you're going to have short passages, long passages, and double passages, and all of that. So what I want to make sure that you guys understand here is the strategy. Whenever it comes to reading, this goes for ACT, SAT, GRE, general knowledge, Praxis core, any kind of reading comprehension exam. We want to start with what they're asking you first. Okay. Most people, they're nervous. They go in and they start up here, and then they move all the way down, and then they get to the question and they have to reread everything. All right. So I want you to sort of do this in a way where you're kind of starting in the middle or starting at the end, right? And in this case, you want to think like a test maker and work backward. And right away, this main idea pops out at me, okay? Now, here's a little trick with the main idea. What they will do on this exam and others, so you can always teach this to your students as well, because they're taking reading comprehension exams all the time, especially if you're becoming an elementary teacher, high school teacher. I mean, they're all taking it. And this can be really hard for students because they use really difficult passages. And I won't get into that, but they use a lot of old English passages because those are free and they don't have to pay for those. So anyway, I'm not going to talk about that, but you know what I'm talking about with your kids. Let me know in the chat if you know what I'm saying about these double passage, old English things that they don't even read anymore. But here's a trick they'll do with the main idea. They'll always have main idea questions. And the answer choices will include everything that happened in the passage. So like A will have happened, B happened, C happened, D happened, and E happened. So it's really hard because it's like you're coming from the place of, did this happen in the passage? But the main idea is like a big overarching concept. It's not too specific. And sometimes if you just quickly look at the answer choices, and again, we're thinking like a test maker and we're working backward. I'm telling you this works. Practice when you study it. We are going to look at the answer choices and just see if anything's too specific. All right. Now, if we say this, the movie, The Titanic, was the most expensive movie of its time. That sounds like a pretty general statement. I'm going to put a G next to it. All right. And again, I'm just giving you strategies for the reading because I don't want to sit here and read to you on a video. That's like the most annoying thing. I want you to take what I'm saying today and apply it when you go and read on your own. The next thing is, despite the overwhelming cost, Titanic was a hugely successful movie and worth the risk. Also sounds pretty general. Overwhelming cost, hugely successful. I'm going to put a G there. Okay. The director of the Titanic forfeited his salary to help with costs. That sounds like a very specific detail. That doesn't sound like a main idea. I'm going to put an S there for specific. So G stands for general, S stands for specific. Again, I'm moving slowly because I'm showing you the strategy. When you do this, you would quickly do this and kind of just have a look. You don't even have to label them. I'm just doing this for the sake of, our prep today. The movie Titanic swept the award scene, winning 11 Academy Awards. Well, this could be general if it's all about the Academy Awards. But if I look at this, I can see the highest grossing movie. I have James Cameron forfeited his salary. I have $8 million salary at risk. I don't think this is all about the 11 Academy Awards. So I'm going to put an S by that as being too specific again. All right. And then the movie The Titanic was a blockbuster hit and had the highest grossing movie of the 1990s. So this is sort of general as well. Okay. So I can cross off these C and D because they're too specific based on what I know, right? Now, A, B, and E are all sort of, general. Now, you could say that even if we wanted to narrow it down more, you could see it was the most expensive movie of its time. I put a G here because if I'm just looking at this, I see a lot of costs here, and I might want to lean towards that. But then I see this scholars, critics, it won awards. I don't know if the cost is the whole thing. So I could probably get rid of A as well. And E, highest grossing movie. Again, I don't know. That sounds a little bit too specific as well, making B the right answer. But on test day, you haven't looked at these tests the way I look at these tests. You might have A, B, and E as like possibility. All right. And then if I just sort of skim this, I can see that this first paragraph is all about the highest grossing movie. It was a great success at the box office. Behind the scenes filming, questionable spending had occurred. Okay, so right away, I could probably get rid of A because it's talking about the most expensive. It also talks about spending here. It talks about James Cameron's donating his salary or forfeiting his salary. So it sounds risky. That does sound a little bit risky to me. And I can see that here. And then we have the positive reviews, Golden Globes, Grammys, all of that. Looks like it's a hugely successful movie. Notice how everything's sort of pointing towards B. All right. And that is one thing I want you to think about when it comes to the main idea. We're looking for overarching statements that cover the entire passage. Anything too specific may have happened, but it doesn't mean it's the main idea. So remember that when you're answering main idea questions, okay? Same thing goes for here. Now, which of the following events was instrumental in shaping the success of Helen Keller? All right. Now, this is a more specific detail, and you're not going to be able to do that same sort of strategy that I just did in the previous one, right? So when it comes to something like this, I might not read the answer choices because I'm going to have to find something specific here. With the main idea, I could look at the answer choices and sort of eliminate anything too specific. Here, I have to sort of discredit any of these as I move along if it was not shaping her success, right? And so very quickly, Helen Keller was an American author who lost her ability to see at a young age. She communicated with her mother. However, Helen was frustrated and unruly. We know that story about her. She was smart, but she did not have the skills. Anne Sullivan, who was also visually impaired, was hired and was instrumental in helping Helen. We're looking for instrumental here. So we have learn how to communicate, lost her sight at a young age. No, working with Anne Sullivan to improve her communication. Right there, I got it. And I was only in, the middle here. So another trick you can do on these reading passages that I use a lot for my SAT prep stuff is that I have people read the last half here. In passages, when it comes to questions like this, 90% of the important information, when it comes to specific details, 90% of the information is in the last couple of lines. If it is a one paragraph passage, so remember that as well. If you've got a one paragraph passage like this, start at the bottom. Have a look at that, and you can see if I started towards the bottom here, even if I started with this way down here, Helen was the first deafblind person to earn a bachelor's degree. That was instrumental. Her education was paid for, and you could kind of work your way up until you got that. Anne was instrumental, working with Anne Sullivan. All right. So just a couple ways to kind of move around these passages. One more thing I want to talk about, and I'm going to stop sharing here for a second. When it comes to the double passages, you may have one or two. Here's a trick with the double passages, all right? So you have passage A and passage B, or you have passage 1 and passage 2. It just depends on how they name it, okay? What I want you to do is go into the questions first and find all of the questions for passage A only. They'll be very easy to identify. You'll be able to find, in passage A, the author says this, or the word blah, blah, blah in passage A means that. And they won't necessarily be in the beginning set of the questions. For example, let's say the questions are 10 through 16 for this passage A and passage B. The first 4 questions aren't necessarily going to be for passage A only. You're going to have intermingled there. So go ahead and look for all the questions for passage A only, read them, and then go read passage A. Then answer passage A only questions. Then find the questions for passage B. Then read those questions for passage B only, not the combined ones, passage A and B, because there will be a couple questions on that. Just the questions for passage B. Read passage B, answer passage B's questions. Now you've broken this thing up into 2 distinct passages. You've zeroed in on the specificity of passage A questions only and passage B questions only. And then when it comes to those 2 passage A and B combined questions, you're going to be able to answer them no problem. Okay. You do not want to read all of passage A, then read all of passage B, and then go into the questions and read all the questions in order. No, no, no. Think like a test maker. Split those 2 passages up until it's time to bring them together for those combined questions. I hope that makes sense to you. Let me know in the chat. All right, let's see here if we have any questions here. Let's see, how much does the test cost? We can answer that later. Okay. So if you have any questions about the reading, let me know. But that's how you're going to work out those passages. And I would say to you, if you have students who are working on those double passages on their end of year exam, this is a great way to show your students how to tackle double passages. Double passages feel like the worst. You're like, oh no, not a double passage. They end up being some of the easiest when you break them up like that. And teach it to your students, because I've taught this to a lot of elementary students and they're like, oh my gosh, I can do that. And it's like, yes. Now, a lot of these tests, this one as well are going to be on the computer. So you have to sort of practice. I have my study guides in digital form too, if you want. But you have to sort of practice navigating the computer. You're going to have to click through the questions a little bit. You're going to have to move around. But I'm telling you, this strategy is going to save you so much time that it's not going to be a problem. Now, if you're someone who's totally stressed and all of that, you could go through the questions one by one because you don't like to jump around. But I highly recommend you practice this. Now, if you go in test day and you do it the first time, it might be a little bit hard. But if you're at home practicing, sort of flipping in the book back and forth, looking at the questions, looking at the passage, it'll sort of give you that same simulation for the computer going back and forth. Okay. So how many questions are on the reading subsection? I've been writing my new SLLA study guide. Let's see here. Reading is 56. Selected response questions, all multiple choice, and you have 85 minutes. So you have a lot of time. You have a lot of time for this. You have an hour and 25 minutes. Okay, that's good. All right, and you're going to answer 56 selected response. Now, remember what I said about main idea? Remember what I said about those double passages? Keep practicing. And here's another thing. The only thing that's going to make you better at reading if you struggle is you have to read more. You have to stop scrolling. You have to read. And I have to remember this for myself, as well. I scroll a lot. I love TikTok. I'm on TikTok. If I see an article, I'm skimming. I use a lot of AI tools to skim articles for me because I'm pressed with time. If you're struggling with the reading, you've got to stop doing that and read the whole article. If a cool article pops up on your phone, read the whole thing. You don't even have to answer any questions. Just practice reading the whole thing. Get that muscle moving. Reading is a lot like running. If you haven't read in a while, and I noticed this as well, if you've only been like doing computer work and you haven't sat and read text, like lengthy text, when you start to read, you get a little rusty. It's kind of like getting off the couch and trying to go run 10 miles. I mean, it's not going to work. But if you read more, your mind, you'll notice that when you pick up a passage, you're cooking, you're moving through it, right? So I would just say practice more reading and scroll less if you're struggling with the reading. You got to read more. There is no silver bullet. And unfortunately, the way we are presented with information is not the way it's presented in the tests. I believe we should start modifying our tests to kind of mirror what's happening in the workplace and what's happening in schools, even for students. Students are not going to sit down and read 15 pages of text anymore. It's just not, they don't have to, and so hopefully the tests will mirror that. I'm a reader. I read novels. I read fiction. I believe in the importance of reading. I'm just saying in the workplace now with AI and summarization tools and the way we have to find information is very different than reading, 15 pages of text and answering comprehension questions. It doesn't really give me a good read on your skills, but that's the way they test and I'm not going to change it. I've tried and they don't listen to me. So I'm just going to show you how to beat them at the test. Okay. All right. Can you have more than one window open on the test, meaning passages on the screen, the questions on the other? It's actually, and correct me if I'm wrong, you guys, because I've looked at the different things. The passage is on one side and the questions are on the other. And if you have more than one question for one passage, I believe in some testing centers, you have to click over and in others, you have to scroll down. I'm not sure. Let me know if you've taken this recently, but it should be passage on one side, questions on the other. So you essentially have two windows open anyways. Okay. All right. Reading gives one a tremendous understanding of how America works. Yes. And Teresa, I'm just going to do a shameless plug here. I've been reading a lot of fiction lately because I've been bogged down in informational text for my job and everything else. And I'm really just kind of like, I don't want to watch. It's hard for me to watch the news and everything right now. I just can't. It's too much. So I've been reading a lot of fiction and it just gives you perspective on different people and lives and communities, and read more fiction. I've been really enjoying it and it's been helping to take me out of my work a little bit and relax and unwind. Okay. Is it true that if you skip a question in the test, you lose points? Well, Jeanette, you shouldn't skip any questions. Make sure you answer them all. So what I would do is if you're going to skip a question and move to another one, which is totally fine, because here's what you want to do. You want to answer every question. And if a question is giving you too much trouble, you want to move on from it, because the question after it and the three others after that might be a lot easier for you. And if you spend 5 minutes on one question and you don't get to answer the last two of that section, you lost out. So here's what I would do. I would guess on the one that you want to skip. I would still put an answer in case you run out of time. And then I would flag it. I would go back and answer all my other questions, and then I would go back to any flagged questions. Now, for those of you who like to flag every question, please don't do that, because if everything is flagged, nothing is flagged. So go with your first gut instinct, all right? But if you would like to revisit it after you've answered all the other questions that you're going to be good at, then go back. But don't spend too much time on any one question, and don't flag everything. But I would answer every question. If you don't answer a question, you lose points for sure. You don't get points for that question. Okay. All right. What is the best way? Start with math, reading, or writing? I believe you have to go through the whole thing, reading, writing, math. I believe, but let me know in the chat. It's, I'm not taking the exam. You can go back at the very end. Yes, Anika. But if you're in a new subtest, now this goes for the subtest ones. One of you in here is taking the combined. If you can go back, if you're in that subtest. So let's say you're in reading and you want to go back, you can. But if you're in now math, 3 sections done, you've already finished reading, you cannot go back into reading. Once you've been done with this subtest, you're done with the subtest. Okay. All right, Christine, reading, math, and writing. Thank you, Christine. So it's reading first, then math. Why do they do the writing last? Because you have an essay task, and that's the last one. Okay. Oh, I've been in testing centers where the proctors say the computer buffers. So just answer the question, but we can't flag it. Is that a problem? And should that issue be fixed? That should absolutely be fixed. That messes with the reliability of your test. Okay. You could take each separate, took all 3 together to save money. I failed math. Okay, Teresa, good. So you can take them separately. And here's another thing I recommend. I get this question a lot. Should I take them all at once, or should I segment them out? I think you should take them all at once the first time, unless you have such tremendous test anxiety that you can't deal. Because you could pass them all the first time, or you could pass 2. Like Teresa said she did. She took them all and she got reading and writing, and now she only has to take the math. I recommend taking them all at once the first time, then go section by section. Okay. All right, here we go. Let's start. Now let's do a little grammar, and we're going to do the writing. I'm going to do math at the end, you guys, but I'm going to move through this quickly because the math is a lot. All right. So let me share my screen one more time, please. Okay. So I'm going to go over these specific grammar questions because I really think they kind of cover a lot, and I want to make sure you know some tricks here for the grammar, and you can teach this to your students as well. Everything I teach you, please teach to your students, because they need to think like test makers too. That's my saying. Think like a test maker. All right. So you might have questions like this, where you have a sentence like we have in number 1 here, and underline portions, and then you have to decide which one you're going to talk about. Now, Aunt Judy was happy to see that my mom was sitting with my sister and me. Okay, so I can either change was, my mom, was, me, or no error. Now, don't be afraid of no error. No error is correct just as much as everything else is. It's evenly distributed throughout the test. Because this is a grammar correction, I know that a lot of people are they're hesitant to choose no error because your job is to correct the grammar, right? But on this particular section, no error is right some of the time, just like everything else is right some of the time. So Aunt Judy was. You wouldn't say Aunt Judy were, because Aunt Judy is a single person. So Aunt Judy was. If you said Aunt Judy and Uncle Andy were, then it would be 2 people, and that would be subject verb agreement, and that's not an issue here. So we'll cross off A. B, to see that my mom was. Same thing. Judy was, my mom was, Aunt Debbie was, right? But if I said my mom and her sister were, right? So this is also subject verb agreement. Also, we're talking about my mom versus mom. Real quick, my mom, if you have a my in front of it, the M is lowercase. If you say mom, like if I were to say Aunt Judy was happy to see that mom was sitting next to me, the M would be capitalized, and that is wrong because mom becomes a proper noun when you do that. But if you say my mom, you're putting my in front of it, or her mom, you're putting the pronoun in front of it. It's lowercase. Everything is working just fine here. All right. Was sitting, that's fine there, sitting with my sister and me. Now, a lot of people, and they do this all the time, it drives me crazy. They put an I here because it's called overcompensation, because when we were kids, we would say, can me and Sally go to the store? And our teacher would say, who? And we'd say, me and Sally. And she would say, who? And you would say, Sally and I. Can Sally and I go to the store? Well, I is a subject pronoun. It belongs in the subject. Me is a direct object pronoun. Let me move this down a bit. Me is a direct object pronoun. It belongs in the predicate. All you have to do is take out the other person. All right. Aunt Judy was happy to see that my mom was sitting with me. You wouldn't say that my mom was sitting with I. Okay. If you have with, here's another thing, it's going to have the direct object here. Okay. So with or of, it's going to be me, him, her, them. All right. If you were to use I, it goes here. I was happy to see that mom was sitting with Judy or whatever. I, he, she, they all belong in the subject. They are subject pronouns. All right. So be careful. They're trying to get you to choose D, but it's not correct. Me is good. No error. She was sitting with me. She was sitting with my sister and me. Turn on the TV. You will see people do this all the time because they're overcompensating. All right. Let's look at number 2. I wasn't sure who to ask about the accident because it was a sensitive and scary subject. All right. Right away, I see this who versus whom. Same thing as the top. Let's talk about this. Subject pronouns versus direct object pronouns. Okay. Subject pronouns, I, we, he, she, they, and who. They belong in the subject. I went to the store. We went to the store. He or she went to the store. They went to the store. Who went to the store? Notice they're all in the subject. Direct object is me, us, him, her, them, and whom. Excuse me. Sally went to the store with me. Sally went to the store with us. Sally went to the store with him. Sally went to the store with her. Sally went to the store with them. With whom did Sally go to the store? Or Sally went to the store with whom? And then I always like to match the M. She went with him. She went with her. She went with me. Notice you can answer the question with whom with something that matches the M, them and him. You could answer it with that. Okay. So now let's see here. I wasn't sure who to ask. Did I ask he? Did I ask she? Or did I ask him? Did I ask her? This would be whom, because I asked him. I asked her. Okay. So make sure you kind of finagle around whenever you see who versus whom. See if it's the direct object. Another trick, and it's not present here, but if you have with or of before the word, it's always whom. With or of is always whom. All right. For example, I went to the college night with my friends, all of whom are seniors in high school. All of them are seniors in high school, right? Whom are you going to the college night with? I'm going with him. I'm going with her. All right. Who went to college night? They did. Notice that who is in the subject. Who went? They went. They went with whom? They went with her. All right. That's another way to do it. And nobody uses this correctly in the real world, but you got to do it on the exam. All right. Let's have a look at number 3. She is constantly checking her work, ensuring, oops, I need to take that sure out. She doesn't make any errors. I'm sorry, that's a typo. Ensuring she doesn't make any errors. That sure should come out of there. Sorry, I will fix that in the free study guide. She is constantly checking her work, ensuring she does not make any errors. Well, this is one where we need to understand the difference between independent clauses and dependent clauses. Independent clauses are sentences that can stand on their own, right? They have a subject and a predicate. So for example, she is constantly checking her work. This right here, and let me go ahead and just sort of clean things up here a bit. And let me make my pencil a little bit. There we go. Okay. So she is constantly checking her work. That is an independent clause, but ensuring she doesn't make any errors. This is just the verb clause, ensuring she doesn't make any errors. It is not a sentence. This is a dependent clause. You cannot put a period here. Another thing you could not put here is a semicolon. Semicolon's just a quick tip. Separate 2 independent clauses. I believe I have one. Yeah, I have one here that I can talk to you about. So that doesn't work. C is out. A is out. No change is out. Now, a comma works here. Why? Because a comma alone can separate an independent clause and a dependent clause. Sometimes the dependent clause comes after the independent clause, and sometimes the dependent clause comes before the independent clause. But a comma is something I like to call weak punctuation. On its own, it can only separate independent clauses and dependent clauses. If you want to separate 2 independent clauses, you either need a semicolon, a period, and then a capital letter, or you can do a comma fanboy. All right. I'll show you how to do that in a second. A comma fanboy. Fanboys are for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. You're probably going to see and but, and maybe so on the exam. And that's where you have a comma fanboy. This equals a semicolon. So here's another trick. If you have a semicolon, a comma fanboy, and a period capital letter, all of those are the same. And if you're only looking for one correct answer choice, you can get rid of them right away. They do that a lot on the SAT. Let me give you an example real quick. This is think like a test maker strategy. Let's say this was, so let's just revise this really quickly. So she doesn't make any errors. Let's just say it's done this way. Okay. Now, if you had a semicolon here as an option, it still wouldn't work because a comma fanboy, remember so is part of the fanboys, it's the so, never comma fanboy. If you had a period capital letter, that equals the same as the semicolon. And if you had a comma fanboy, that would equal a semicolon as well. Okay. So in this case, you could do comma, so she doesn't make any mistakes. That works. She is constantly checking her work, so she doesn't make any errors. You could do that, but that's not an option here. But I just want to show you the different ways you can break up independent clauses and dependent clauses. In this case, we need to go work, comma, ensuring. That sure shouldn't be there. She's constantly checking her work, independent clause, ensuring she doesn't make any errors, verb clause. Now, if I didn't have a comma there, it would be a run-on. You got to have some punctuation there separating the independent clause and the dependent clause. So the best one is B here. Let's take a look at number 4, and I'll go back into my comments in a second and see if you guys have any questions. All right. The book To Kill a Mockingbird is part of the high school English curriculum, but many schools have banned the book. Okay. So the book, comma, To Kill a Mockingbird, comma. These commas are correct. When you have commas that bracket out something here, you could essentially take this out and it should read perfectly. And it does, because the commas are like brackets. You could also do this. You could also do M dashes. There's several different ways you can do this. But the book is part of the high school English curriculum. Notice that it works fine there. Now, if I only had one comma, no, because that wouldn't work. But when you have two around a clause or a phrase, in this case, a title, you could essentially take it out totally with the commas and say the book is part of the high school curriculum. That works. So we don't want to change that part here. So A is out. And again, B is out as well. I need both of those commas. Otherwise, it's going to mess up the flow of the sentence. English is always capitalized. C is out. Now we have this curriculum. But remember what I said. The book, To Kill a Mockingbird, is part of the high school English curriculum. Could I put a period there? Yes, I could. All right. Now, could I start the sentence with a capital B for but? No, typically. I mean, it's kind of a style issue. It is technically a grammar issue, but we don't usually do that. If I kept it alone, it's a run-on sentence. I need a comma, but. Notice that many schools have banned the book is an independent clause. If I said many schools have banned the book, that's a sentence. Subject, schools, predicate, have banned. Okay, that works. But I've got this but here by itself, and a fanboy on its own. Remember fanboy? Fanboys is really, because you got to have the S there. The B alone cannot separate two independent clauses the way it's doing here. You must add the comma. Remember, the comma on its own is weak, and the fanboy on its own is weak. But together it's strong. Comma but equals a period. Comma but equals a semicolon. And it breaks it up properly. You could put a period there, take out the but, capitalize the M. You could take out the but and leave the M lowercase and put in a semicolon, or you could just add a comma in between that curriculum and the word but and make it correct. All right. So D is the answer there. If you don't do anything, it's a run-on. Okay. All right. John was not only out of shape, he was weak and undernourished. Right here, John was not only out of shape is a dependent clause. It cannot stand on its own. Because if you said John was out of shape, that would be fine. But it says John was not only out of shape, making it a dependent clause. So no error, which is when you get these kind on this particular exam, you're going to have the whole thing is underlined, or part of it's underlined. You're going to have A is no change, and B, C, D, and E are going to be revisions of it. So A right away we can cross off because it's not working there. He was weak and undernourished. This is an independent clause. That can stand on its own, but we've got this beginning part here. So not only was John out of shape, but he was also weak and undernourished. Notice I have the comma but there, because he was also weak and undernourished is an independent clause. So I need to make sure that we have that comma but there, making D the correct answer. Let me just check and see. Yeah, D is the correct answer. Just making sure. Sometimes when I'm live, I'm like, oh. Out of shape, John was weak, but also undernourished. Anything that sounds too wordy is not going to be your answer. Out of shape, John was not only weak and also undernourished. No. Out of shape, John was either weak. No. D is the best answer there. And the biggest red flag is that this is being put on its own and it's not an independent clause. So right away, we know there's a problem. All right. I'm going to do the writing portion of this now, even though you would do this later. So what I'm going to do first is the argumentative essay, this one right here. Let me go back to my thing here and see if we have any questions. Oh, and you know what? Let's give away a book before we go into that. All right. I say no error in my version. Question 4. You are welcome. Conjunction words. Katrina, they are conjunctions. They're called coordinating conjunctions. Fanboys, and I say this in the test in my book. Let me show you the section of my book. You can't miss it. It's like it's got a big graphic for fanboys. I can't see if it's here. Let me see. Where are you, fanboy? Of course, now I'm not going to be able to. But I've got so much grammar information here. Grammar is my favorite thing. Oh, here it is. I see it. Grammar is my favorite thing. And I have this little graphic here to help you kind of understand. And yes, they are conjunctions, but these are called coordinating conjunctions. There are other conjunctions called subordinating conjunctions, which can break up an independent clause and another independent clause, but I go over all of that here. So we're going to go through, a lot of you want the book, so let's go ahead through and pick a name. Let me go and see what name we have picked. All right. I've got Jason Pagano. Jason Patanjo. I'm sorry. I hope I'm saying that right, Jason. You've got to be here to get the book. So Jason, let me know if you are here. And I've still got a list of others. I still have others that I pulled from a hat, but Jason, you were the first one. So Jason, let's see if you are here. Let me know. Okay. Mike T is asking me to check question 4 in the guide. Which you got to be more specific, Mike T. I got a lot of questions in the guide. Okay. So let me know. But Jason, are you here live? Because you've got to be live. I'm going to let this run for a second. Let me know in the chat because you are a little bit behind me. So if you're here, let me know. And if not, I'm going to draw another name. Okay. All right. So let's go into our, it doesn't look like he might have left. Maybe he was here for math. We'll see. Let's go into our essays here. Okay. Okay. Mike is asking, the book To Kill a Mockingbird is part of the high school English curriculum, but many schools have banned the book. No error. The book B. It's D. It should be but, comma, but. D should be comma, but. Because you have, but many schools have banned the book is a independent clause. You need a comma coordinating conjunction to separate those two. Jason is here. All right, cool, Jason. You've got a Praxis Core book coming your way. Awesome. All right, let me go into the writing now. Let's go ahead and do this. Okay, let me just see what I've got here. Okay, I'm going to share this. Okay. So, and I'm going to make it a little bigger because we're talking about a lot of text on the page here. Talk amongst yourselves. All right. And we'll pull it down here. All right. Hopefully we can all see that. I'll check my phone just to make sure. All right. So we are talking about the argumentative essay first. And here is what it's going to look like. Now, again, we're going to think like test makers and work backwards. We are going to be right here. You got to go to the task first. Let me make sure. I want to move this over here a bit. There we go. That should work. All right. Discuss the extent to which you agree or disagree. I find that a lot of people, when they write these, they see something and they go, well, I kind of agree and I kind of disagree. No. Agree or disagree. Because if you start going, well, I sort of agree and I sort of disagree, things get a little convoluted and they get confusing. And so what you want to do is you want to make sure that you're choosing a side. Nobody's going to judge you. If you can write to one side better than the other, choose that side because nobody's grading you on your particular opinion. It's how you present the opinion. Okay. So pick a side. And it says, with the point of view, support your position with specific reasons and examples from your own experience. Now, examples from your own experience signals to me that we can choose a use I. You can use I and we. You can use first person. Now, some of you are a little opposed to that because you don't like using I because you're probably in a master's program. And if you use the term I, your professor is like, no, third person narrative, make sure it's third person, blah, blah, blah. But it's okay here because it says use your own experience, observations, or reading. You can use all of that, all right? So it says, read the opinion stated below. The only, and you will see this as well, it's going to be very, like intense, whatever the argument is. Okay. It's going to say the only important criterion by which to judge a prospective teacher is his or her ability to get along with students. Okay. Now, if you're reading this as a normal person, you're like, the only criteria is this? You would say, no, you need to be good at your content area. You need to be a good teacher. It's not a popularity contest. At least that's what I'm saying, right? Some of you, though, may be special education teachers. You might be elementary teachers, and you might truly believe, and this is true, I agree with you, that the relationship between you and your students is the most important because people don't like to learn from people they don't like. You could totally do that as well, right? I'm going to take the position of no because I'm going to, it's going to be a little bit easier for me to write to, all right? Now, you can do this a couple of ways. You can write a 3-paragraph essay and you could have an introduction and you can have a conclusion and all of that. You could also write this in 1 paragraph, all right? You don't have a lot of time. And let me just go to the writing and I got to check. I prep for so many tests. I have not memorized exactly how much time you get for the writing, like exactly for the essay. In the chat, if somebody knows, let me know. I'm going to go to the writing section. That's the reading section. Hold on. I got to get to my blueprint here. This is reading. Let me go to writing. Why can't I find the writing section? There we go. Sorry, you guys. We are live. We are live. Okay. Here we go. All right. You get 100 minutes for the selected response questions and the writing portion. So you get 100 minutes for everything, right? So if you do quickly move through that selected response, you will get a few minutes for the writing. I would say don't spend any more than 8 to 10 minutes on these particular things. That will give you about 20 minutes. I mean, if you do the multiple choice quicker, and remember, this is combined. So 100 minutes is for everything, the multiple choice and all that. And the writing, I would make sure you have some time at the end. So move through that multiple choice as quickly as you can, you guys. And you will once you get all that grammar down. All right. So I'm going to say no to this. I'm going to say I disagree to this. All right. So let's have a look at the 2 essays I wrote here. All right. So right away, and I'm zooming in here, you guys, because it's a lot of text on the page. I'm trying to get this in here. Sorry. All right. There we go. All right. Right away, I say whether I agree or disagree, okay? Don't start going around the world. Tell the reader of your essay that you either agree or disagree. So I disagree with the idea that prospective teachers should be judged solely by their ability to get along with students. I took that from the prompt. It said that, right? And then I go right into as to why. It is more important for teachers to be experts in their content areas than it is for them to be popular among students. So notice that I said, I restated their sort of prompt, and then I got a little more specific. They need to be experts in their content area. And then I say, for example, this is very important when it comes to your essays. If you start doing this, you're going to see a better score on your writing. Use for example or for instance. It signals to the grader of your essay that you are about to give them a specific example, which is part of the rubric. They want specificity. I'm so sorry that this is so small. I'm trying to zoom it in. I'll zoom in a little bit more as I move down. The way it's on my screen, I have to keep it like this. Okay. For example, and now I get even more specific. I say content area here, but what content area? What do you mean? For example, a biology teacher must have detailed understanding of topics like cell division, osmosis, photosynthesis. Notice I got very specific there. Similarly, English teachers must have a thorough academic understanding of grammar, usage, structure, composition, and literature. Notice I went from general, I disagree. Teachers need to be experts in their content area. And then I got real specific on there. Okay. Let's take a look at the second one. Now, this one, I basically, in my first paragraph, I took the position. I said, no, I disagree. And here's why. And here's a specific example. Now I'm going to do that part of use examples from your own observations, your own experience. Here we go. In high school, I had an English teacher who was notorious for being difficult to deal with. Also, I made this up. I loved my English teachers. You can make things up in this essay. They're not grading your experience. They're grading your writing. So look at what I did here. I made up a mean English teacher to do my point. I, along with others, found him abrasive and stuffy. He certainly wasn't getting along with most of his students then. We found his teaching style to be outdated and boring. Notice that I am using specific things: boring, outdated, abrasive, stuffy. He demanded we diagram sentences, rewrite paragraphs over and over again, and proofread constantly. Now here comes the flip. However, during my freshman year of college, I quickly realized that because of my English teacher's approach, my knowledge of grammar, punctuation, and structure was far beyond my classmates' skills and understanding. And here comes the end. It turns out my English teacher prepared me to be a successful writer, even though he was easily the least popular teacher I ever had. I totally made that story up. You can too. They're not going to check your transcript to see if you had a mean English teacher. Okay. It's about the writing. So make it up if you can't find, whatever. Now, I added this ending here. There is no paragraph. People say, how many paragraphs? They don't say. It's not in the rubric. What you need to do is make sure you have an understanding of the prompt, that you take a position, and that you write in a cohesive manner that uses specifics. Specifics are going to save you. I find that a lot of you stay up in the abstraction area without getting down into the concrete. So, for example, saying they need to be experts in their content area. Okay, what does that mean? Well, a biology teacher needs to be really good at biology and cell division and osmosis. Notice that I show you. I didn't tell you. I showed you. Show me, don't tell me. Now, this last one, I just put there if you guys are hell-bent on a 3-paragraph essay with an intro and a conclusion. Being an effective teacher is not a popularity contest. Teachers must be experts in their fields to be able to give students. Although it is helpful for a teacher to be well-liked, that is not the only quality. Now, it's nice. This is a nice ending, but you don't need it to get a good score on this. Let me show you a 1-paragraph essay. And again, you're going to get this in the email you get from me. So don't worry about trying to type this out. This is 1 paragraph, and this is perfect. Right away, I disagree. Tell me, do not go around the world to tell me what you're trying to tell me. Tell me right away. With the idea that prospective teachers should be judged solely on their ability to get along, it is more important to be experts in their content area than to be popular. And then I get right into it. In high school, I had an English teacher who was notorious for being difficult to deal with. We found him stuffy. He wasn't getting along with the students. We found his teaching style outdated and boring. Notice specifics: abrasive, study, outdated and boring. Diagramming sentences, rewriting paragraphs, proofreading constantly. Again, I'm showing you. You can see these students in their seats going, ugh, diagramming sentences again. Proofreading, I don't want to proofread, right? And then the flip. However, during college, I learned that all this stuff that he told me made me better, right? And I do it and I don't want to read to you, but it made me a successful college writer. Then my last sentence: although it was helpful for a teacher to be well-liked, that is not the quality that makes a teacher effective. This does all the things. I took a position. Let's go back. Let's go back to the task. Discuss the extent to which you agree or disagree. Support your position with specific reasons and examples. Does it say it has to be 4 paragraphs? Does it say it has to be 5 paragraphs? No. In fact, writing like this, 1 paragraph, is actually, it's a little harder. If you're one of those people who likes to write a lot, then get it all down on paper and then start deleting anything that's fluff. and that'll help you. All right, let's talk about the source-based essay. Is this it? All right, I got to go back to, let me stop sharing screen very quickly, see if anybody has any questions, and then I have to go to my PDF real quick. Let me know in the chat if you have any questions, and we're going to move to the source-based essay. All right. How many minutes is the reading test? 85 minutes. Thanks, Annika, for taking care of that. If I take the online, I have Grammarly on my computer. Do I need to take it off? I believe they make you take off all your apps. Yeah, you can't have Grammarly. But here's the thing. If you make a few grammar mistakes, you're not going to get a bad grade. It cannot interfere with the reading of it. But if you misspell a word, if you know, and it's so silly that they don't have grammar check on this, because it's like in the real world, you have Grammarly. Anyway, I digress. Do you write a personal essay or just from passages? We are going to do two, Samantha. We just did a personal one. It's the argumentative. The next one is the source-based. Do you have a title for your essay? No, never does it say a title. On some more complex things, I will use headings. When I'm writing for an exam, sometimes I'll use headings to break it up for the reader. It makes it easy for them to grade. To be sure the essay is being typed on the computer. Yes, Deborah. It's a computer-based essay. So you'll have a little box. There's no grammar check or spell check. What's the max sentences a paragraph should have? Again, Sandy, I know we've come from that place of like how many sentences. Nowhere in the rubric does it say 5 sentences for a paragraph. Sometimes 3 sentences for an intro paragraph is fine. Now, if it's your body paragraph, then, it's got to be pretty substantial. Oh, Samantha, a personal essay? No, you only write the argumentative and the source-based. Those are the two. So the argumentative, they're going to give you a passage that's like, hey, agree or disagree with this very opinionated prompt. And you will take a position and write on that. And then the source-based, I'm going to show you in a second, you're given 2 articles and you have to find differences or similarities between the two and summarize them. Okay, I'm going to take it online. Do they monitor it? Yes. And I wouldn't try to turn on any Grammarly if you're taking the test. You don't want to get in trouble for that kind of stuff. Okay. In New Jersey, the entire combined exam has 300 minutes. Yes, Jason, you're taking the combined. So it's not by subtest. So it's all given in one shot. Some people like that. Some people don't. But I know you won this book. This is the same as the combined. It's just broken up. That's all. Okay, let's move on to source-based really quickly. Thank you, Samantha. No problem. We're working on the source-based now, and a lot of people get freaked out about this, but the source-based is giving you all the information you need. All you have to do is summarize it. All right, so let's go into this and go here. All right, this is zoomed in a bit. It's just a lot of writing on the page. I hate doing... Well, a lot of my presentations are like this. I try to make them as big as possible. All right, so this is what it's going to be. It's going to look like this, source-based essay. All right. You're going to have 2 sources. Notice I have source 1. And then if I scroll down, I have source 2. Okay. I'm going to go through this with you in just a second. I'm trying to make it as big as possible so you guys can see. So forgive me. All right. So we're always going to go with the task first when it comes to our essays. So right here, this is the task for the source-based essay. Let me scroll up so I cover that. There we go. Read the 2 passages carefully and write an essay in which you identify the most important concerns regarding the issue. Okay, here's what it's telling you. To read it, you're not reading this thing all the way through. And you don't even have to read it that carefully. I'm going to show you. Test makers want to waste your time. All right. And then explain why they are important. Your essay must draw on both of the sources. In addition, you may draw on your own experience, observations, or reading. Be sure to cite the sources. Now, this is where people get messed up. Citing, does it need to be an APA or MLA? Does it say MLA or APA? No, it does not. It does not say any of that. All you have to do is, I cite with APA. I will say MAR 2018. So when I cite, it's going to be like this: author, last name, and date. Okay. But you can say the article written by Mar, or the first article. All of that is citing it because you're telling the person grading it that you're using that article as a thing. Now, I have a doctorate. Many of you are in your master's program and a doctorate. I've been writing in APA format for the last, I don't even know, many years. So writing with APA citations does not bother me. It's actually easy for me. But if you are not schooled in that and you don't want to take a risk, just say, the article written by Mar says this. And that is citing it. It's totally fine. You do not need some sort of bibliography and all this stuff at the end. They just want you to identify the evidence from the article that you are using. And I'm going to show you how to do that. All right. So now we know what to do. We're working backwards. We started with the task. Sometimes the task might have bullets that you have to satisfy. Sometimes they won't. It just depends. In this case, we're going to basically read the articles and sort of use them to kind of explain what's going on. We're summarizing the information. All right. So let's go ahead and read. There's usually a little information piece up here. Artificial intelligence, AI, is progressing rapidly. While science fiction often portrays AI as robots with human-like characteristics, AI can encompass anything from Google search engine, blah, blah, blah. Many people believe that AI is not malevolent because it is not likely to exhibit human emotions. However, others fear that AI will become conscious and destroy us. Okay, right away in this information section here, we're seeing a contrast. We have the word however as a signal word, which tells me that source one, or one of the sources, is going to be pro AI, and the second source is going to be anti-AI. Think like a test maker. Start to get these things in your head. Don't go into this thing blind. We know what we're supposed to do here, and we're reading this and we're thinking critically. All right, I got a however here. We got people fearful. All right. So as I read these sources, these articles, I'm going to keep that in mind. Now, let's have a look. Now, sometimes you'll get two that agree with one another, and you just sort of have to summarize. You know, this article agrees with the first article. They both say this. That's how you handle that. But in this case, I did two opposing articles. All right, let's have a look. Now, I'm not going to get too hung up on this. I just know that this is Mar's article. All right. Now, what I'm also going to do is have my map open as well. Let me show you my map. Let's go here. Okay. I'm going to put Mar on one side and MIT, which was the second article, on the other side. Okay. Because I want to divide them up. All right. Now let me just peruse Mar. I'm going to go back to the articles really quick, but this is how I would do it. Just a quick bulleted list right here. Okay. So I'm going to quickly summarize this. Many people have suggested artificial intelligence could be very dangerous. Since recent developments, super intelligent machines possibly sooner might be invented sooner than they initially thought. The time is now to determine what dangers. Okay, so this is going to be the anti one. Okay. AI programmed to do something dangerous, as in the case of autonomous weapons. There's a specific mind of their own. I don't have to read this whole paragraph and get bogged down in the details. I can see that this person, Mar, is talking autonomous weapons, mind of their own, dangerous autonomous weapons, once deployed, be difficult to dismantle. Ooh, that's scary. An army of robots, right? Second thing Mar is saying here, since machines can collect, track, and analyze so much about you, it's very possible those machines will use that information against you. Cameras are everywhere. Facial recognition, algorithms. China's social credit system, 1.4 billion citizens, personal score about how they behave. So then now the second one is, this is about robots, robot army. I'll just put that there. Scary robot army. And this is scary surveillance, right? So in terms of this, like we'll put tracking or surveillance, bad and bad. And you can see this last sentence here. Unfortunately, our AI capabilities, as they expand, we will also see them being used for dangerous or malicious purpose. So right away, Mar is like, AI is bad. And I have two things, autonomous weapons and tracking us. Let's go back to my thing here. Autonomous weapons and tracking privacy issues. I can summarize those very quickly in a paragraph. Machines don't value human life like humans do, and you can be prosecuted based on this stuff. This could infringe on our rights. Boom, I'm done. And if I'm on test day, I did not take 5-10 minutes to read that and get bogged down in every little thing. I know Mara's AI is bad, and I grabbed 2 specific things there. Let's go to MIT. MIT is the next article. Let's scroll down. And I can suspect if it's MIT, they're probably going to maybe be favorable about it. Now, notice these are old articles. We've come a long way in AI since then, but AI has democratized. Notice now we have good words, services, and commoditized a lot of privileges. Okay. I'm not even going to stay in there. I know that paragraph right there, or that sentence is all about improving day-to-day life. So this is AI equals good. Okay, with finance, AI is gaining traction. AI can help understand patterns, can make judgments more accurate than a utility bill. Okay, so we're looking at finance there. I like this one, education. Next paragraph is all about education. I might go to that. We can see we can adjust learning needs. So AI can kind of learn what you're doing and adjust the needs. Tailor-made curriculum. I'm not even reading this thing. I'm just pulling out really good words that support AI is good. All right. So I'm going to adjust learning needs and tailor-made curriculum differentiation, everything we're supposed to be doing. Right. And then I see hospitals here. Let's see here. Follow up by monitoring patients' blood sugar, AI equipped virtual robots. So they will help, post hospitalization. They can target consultations. Okay, they can do pre-diagnosis. So I'm looking at education and healthcare, and they both are helpful in both of those things. And I'm just going to pull out a few good words there for those. So let's have a look at that. Learning, respond to learning needs, and medical, pre-diagnosis. Notice I did not spend an hour reading that. Please don't spend an hour reading that. Now let's do the paragraphs. Here's how I'm going to set it up. This is going to be paragraph number 1, and this is going to be paragraph number 2. All right. Here we go. All it said was, let's go back to the actual thing here. Read 2 passages and write an essay in which you identify the most important concerns regarding the issue. Explain why they are important. It doesn't say agree or disagree. It just says identify the most important concerns, and we need to be specific again. So I'm just going to do 2 paragraphs summarizing MAR and summarizing MIT. All right, here we go. MAR 2018. Ooh, let me pull that down. Sorry, guys. MAR 2018 asserts that AI can be dangerous, and the time is now to determine how dangerous this technology could be. I basically just summarized what MAR was doing, and I made it dangerous, simplified the sentence. Now I need to get a little more specific. MAR argues that AI can be used as autonomous weapons. There's my specificity, a mind of their own. Notice I put those in quotes because that was like a direct quote. You do not have to put everything in a direct quote. People always ask me this. How much of the direct quote should there be? Choose. I don't know. The whole thing shouldn't be a direct quote because you need to put your own spin on it. But mind of their own, I took from there. So just throw it in quotes and then it shows you cited it. In addition, MAR states that AI can be used to collect, track, and analyze people, which puts people in danger. For example, specificity signal word. Facial recognition cameras and algorithm can use to be oppressed citizens. In fact, even more. MAR cites China's social credit system as a way, blah, blah, blah. This goes against the basic principle of American independence. All right. That's even a little bit wordy. I could probably take the China thing out of there if I wanted to. Okay. But I added it all because I wanted you to see everything. Notice that it matches my map, right? It matches what I put. It's got my 2 things, autonomous weapons and facial recognition and tracking. All right. Now, conversely, MIT released an article in 2018. Notice how I just cited that. Up here, I used APA, MAR 2018. Conversely, MIT released an article in 2018 that praises AI and outlines its way it can be used as an effective tool. One way it can be used positively is in student outcomes. For example, signal word, I'm about to get specific. AI can differentiate learning and tailor curriculum based on students' needs. And then I cited it. I already cited it here, but I'm kind of a nerd when it comes to citations. You don't need this many, but you can always just use it in there. It fills up the space too. MIT 2018 shows how AI can be used in hospitals. There's my second piece. To improve patient outcomes. For example, AI is being used to collect advanced patient information for basic pre-diagnosis. And I just took that. I'm done. I did everything here. I don't need an intro paragraph and a conclusion paragraph. This is what I'm being graded on. This is the most important. Get right into it. Nowhere does it say you need all this other stuff. All right. I also did a little more involved. Okay. I just want to show you could do this, but it's going to take you a lot longer. I'm going to zoom in. Hang on. Okay. Totally unnecessary, but I've got an intro here. Talking artificial intelligence advanced rapidly. Some believe this, others believe that. Okay. It's an intro. Then I get into the meat. Mar talks about autonomous weapons. And then I put these two paragraphs that I already wrote the first time around, right? The one I just showed you. And then I have a conclusion. The benefits and concerns around AI are just heating up. You know, this is good. If you write quickly and you want to do an intro and a conclusion, that's fine. But here is a quick tip for you. Write the details first. And then if you have time, add the intro and the conclusion. But I'm telling you, you don't need it. Okay? You don't need it. And you're being graded on this part here. But if you are one of those who you just can't, and I know some of you out there are like, I can't just turn in an essay without an intro or conclusion. Fine, but write the middle first. Write the details first. All right? And then you can put it in one paragraph too. Check this out. The debate about AI being a tool for good or dangerous, or a tool for good or a dangerous weapon is ongoing. Okay, there's a debate. March 2018 asserts AI can be dangerous, and the time is now to determine how dangerous. He argues that AI can be used as autonomous weapons and develop a mind of their own, which puts citizens at risk. In addition, Marr states AI can use to collect, track, and analyze people. Conversely, MIT released an article that praises AI. It can be used to improve citizens' lives. MIT shows how AI can be used in hospitals to improve patient outcomes. For example, AI collects advanced patient information, leading to shorter and more targeted consultations. As AI is integrated into people's lives, people must decide whether the pros outweigh the cons. Notice for this one, I left out the education piece. It was too much. I just used one example from Marr, or actually two. Yeah, I used two from Marr tracking, and I used one from MIT. But this is one paragraph. This satisfies the task for sure. Okay. So that's how you do that. Let me go here and stop sharing. All right. She said that she will get a link once it's over. Thank you. I have to work. Okay. If you got a couple people leaving early, it's fine. Links are coming your way in the email. All right. Anybody have any questions about the writing? Does a cite also count if your essay source states? If there's one, oh, you could say source one says this and source two says that. It's okay. They just want you to cite evidence. You can totally say that. But keep it simple and map it real quick. Notice how I mapped it with those two bullets under each author. I use APA because I'm comfortable with that. You could just say the first author says this, the second author says that. Now, everybody inevitably asks, what if they agree? Then they agree, but they agree for different reasons. They are going to agree for different reasons. So you might say, let's just say Marr decides that AI is good. And instead of saying autonomous weapons and all that, maybe they find it good for, maybe the first source says it's good for education and the second source says it's good for hospitals. All right. All you have to do is say the first source focuses on education and give 2 or 3 specifics. They can track and analyze student progress. They can differentiate instruction, and they can give teachers ideas on what to do, blah, blah, blah. Making a life of a teacher awesome. I have an AI course, by the way, for teachers. I highly recommend you take it. AI is amazing. And if you're a teacher, you should use it because it'll take all that busy work off your desk. It's awesome. But I digress. I'll show you where to get it at the end. Let's say the second person also agrees, but they focus on hospitals. Then you just say, MIT agrees that AI is awesome, but they focus on healthcare, and then give a few examples there. Okay. So That's how you do that. It doesn't matter. The thing about the source based, it looks intimidating because you have all the like the sources and it's long, but really they give you all the information to use. It's the argumentative that's a little harder because you have to come up with your own sort of rebuttal. But the source based, it's all laid out. You just have to pull some information. All right. Do we, in addition, need to cite the sources at the bottom? No, Jason, no bibliography, no works cited. It's just inside the paragraph. And I know everybody asks that, and you're right to ask because most of you are in master's programs or you just got out of your college of ed and you're like having to cite with this work cited. That is not in there. It just says cite, meaning reference them. You do not need a bibliography and all that. No. That's a waste of time. How long do the essays need to be? I go over this a lot. There is no one thing in my source based. I did it with 2 paragraphs. I did it with 4 paragraphs, and I did it with 1 paragraph. You just have to satisfy what they're asking. Look at that task and have you done everything in that task? Check. You are done. And if you can do it in 1 paragraph, like I did at the end, do it in 1 paragraph. Okay. All right. And practice your writing. I have a ton of prompts in here. You can also use AI to generate you some prompts. Let's say you blew through all the prompts in my book and like you want some new ones. Ask AI to generate you Praxis core writing prompts. And then you can put your writing in there and have the AI grade your essay based on the rubric. Okay? Because I don't want your essay. People always say, hey, can I send you my essay and will you grade it? No, I get thousands of requests like that. I don't have time to do that. But throw it into AI. You can even screenshot things and it'll read it. Okay? All right. Let's have a look at the math. Yeah. So LB just said, great idea. In my writing online course, I have a whole AI section. Let me show you that. Let's see. Nope. Here. There we go. This is the course, and I have it down here. How to use ChatGPT to score your essays. And I have I did this a while ago when ChatGPT was still new. It has even more capabilities now, but in this online course that I have for the writing, I go through it, how to do it, and I even give you ChatGPT prompts here for you as well. So that's in the writing. Just so you can, if you're really struggling with the writing and it's holding you back, you can use AI to help you practice. So you don't have to say to your colleague, hey, can you grade my essay? Or because that's hard. This will really help you. And I show you how to do it. And I even have prompts for you to do for this expository and the argumentative. Okay. Just want to put that out there. I'm always thinking about you guys. All right, here we go. Somebody's asking, we're going to do math right now, Kendall. And it says, do the math problems match up to what's on the test? Here's the thing. And a lot of people ask this. I have no idea what test you're getting on test day. And I shouldn't know. It's a state standardized exam. It is under a lot of test security. And I have no idea. Now, the banks, the item banks, and that's where they store all their items to deploy onto tests. And I have a video about this. It's called Test Administration. I'll link it in the email that shows you exactly how they write their tests. They have item banks with hundreds of questions in them. And when you take a test, you go in and you get a form of that test. If I go in after you, I get a different form of the test, right? Now, when you go in the second time, you might get similar items. You might even get the same test because the banks, like I said, are small. But I have no idea what test you're going to get. What we do is we take the test specifications and the blueprint, which is the document the testing companies publish, and I write all of my questions based on that. My questions are original questions. They are my questions. They are not the test maker questions. You can't do that because it's against the law. And we don't want to get in trouble. So we want to make sure that you have the skills. So for example, geometry could be asked in a word problem. You could have a diagram. You could have a problem that tests both number sense and algebra and order of operations, right? So you really need to work on the skills rather than try to memorize questions. And I know we all love a practice test. We all love to memorize questions on a practice test, but it's not the best way. Okay. Are your books available at libraries in Boston? I'm from the Northeast also. Probably not in the library, maybe. But I'm offering you an offer code today for a discounted price. Yana, can you put that offer code in? I'm not sure if we have that in here. I haven't been paying attention too much to the chat because I've been working, but you'll get an offer code today. I can discount on my website. I cannot discount on Amazon, but they might be. And if you buy on Amazon, make sure you buy new. Otherwise, it's going to have writing in it and you don't want that, right? I'm going to talk to you about that at the end. Let's stop and give away another book. Let's give away another book. Here we go. All right. Victoria Ohms, OOMS, Victoria Ohms. Are you in here? Are you in here? Mike T, can AI provide questions that mimic the tests? I use AI to write questions, but I have to rewrite them. You have to really, the thing with AI is I'll say like, please write me a test question that does X, Y, and Z. There's a lot of work that goes into it. You can't just say, but you could say, generate me an algebra worksheet and it will. If you want to get your algebra questions going, you could say, write me word problems, but sometimes they'll be too easy. So you have to ask it to amp them up. But yes. All right. Victoria Ohms, you are here. So you are the winner of the Praxis Core book. We'll be sending that out to you. Wonderful. Wonderful, Victoria. All right. Okay. Let's go to math, everyone. And I'm going to do the whole worksheet because most of you are constantly asking me to do the whole worksheet. So we're going to do the whole math worksheet that you guys got from me. Let me try to find it. Here we go. All right. All right. I'm going to zoom in on this so you can see it, but I'm just doing the worksheet as a PDF right now. So it should show up as this. And let's make sure, I'm going to check my phone and make sure we can all see it pretty well. All right. So the first content category on the math is number sense. Or number and quantity. And most math tests have number and quantity. This can be anything from place value, which is what you're going to see in this first question, all the way up to PEMDAS and some more complex things, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in and go straight to this question here. Number 1. If the number 300,045,678.012 is multiplied by 100, which digit will be in the 10,000s place? This is a place value question. All right. And you're multiplying by 100. That means it's getting bigger. All right. So if I have 345,678.012 and I multiply by 100, the number is getting bigger. I'm going to move, how many zeros are in 102? I'm going to move this decimal point 2 places, and this becomes 345,678.01.2. Put my commas in, and it's asking the 10,000s place. If it has a THS, it's on the right side of the decimal. If it's just an S, 10,000s place, it's on the left side of the decimal. In this case, 6 is in the 10,000 space because we have 1, 10, 100,000, 10,000, 100,000, million, 10 million, right? So we're at 6 here. E is the answer. Now, listen to me. If this is hard for you, you've got to work on your math because, and I understand, like some of us, I have some people that didn't do very well on fractions because they had a substitute teacher when they were supposed to be learning fractions for like a whole half a semester and they never got it. And it like messed up their math for a long, long time. You've got to get these basic skills down. All right. Here's another one that has to do this. Now, you see these check boxes here? On the exam, you have to get them all correct. If you get like 2 out of the 3 or 1 out of the 2, like you guessed one right, but you didn't get all the others, you get 0 points. It's an all or nothing. Okay. So make sure we do that. So I have multiple boxes here and it says the number 42,350 was multiplied by 0.01. Now, because it's multiplied by a decimal, this number is actually getting smaller. It's going to get smaller. We want to think in our brain, real world stuff here. Okay. And then it says select all of the following. that have the same effect as multiplying by 0.01. Now, really quickly, what is 0.01? 0.01 equals 1 over 100. So let's get everything that has to do with 10 out of here. It's not 10. It's 100. Dividing by 100 and multiplying by 1 over 100. Those are both the same things. Let me show you. Let's say we've got 42,350 and we're multiplying it by 0.01. All right. Because it's a decimal and there are two place values here, we're going to take the decimal that's at the end of this number and we're going to go like this, 1, 2. So this would become 423.50. That's what happens when you multiply it by 1/100th. TH. Now, let's see if I get the same answer. If I were to take 42,350, that's over 1, and I multiplied by 1 over 100, multiply across, I'm essentially taking 42,350 divided by 100. It's the same thing. Multiplying by 1 over 100 is the same as dividing by 100. So the third block and the fifth block is correct. All right, you'll get these as well. Order the list of numbers from least to greatest. All right, and again, we want to make sure right away, if there's a 0 here, that's definitely going to be smaller than when there's a 1 here, right? After the decimal. So if we're going from least to greatest, anything with the 1 here is out. And a lot of times on this test, 4 out of the 5 will have 0.1 as the first one, and you can get rid of all of them and grab it. They do that a lot on this test. I don't do that because I want to make it harder on you guys. Like I want to make the practice harder than the actual test. Okay. So let's go to the next one. Which one? So 0.03. Hold on. Sorry. 0.03. 0.03 is really 0.030, which is less than 0.035, right? Because this is a 0 and this is a 5. So 0.035 is slightly bigger. So if you have 0.035 in front of 0.03, you're done. And it doesn't look like we have that. So we can't do that. All right. Now 0.09. Which one's bigger? 0.03 or 0.099? 0.030 or 0.099? 0.099 is actually greater. So if 0.099 is before 0.03, we can get rid of that. And in B, it's there and doesn't look like any other are there. Now, 0.1 is also greater than 0.035, yes? Because this is essentially 0.011. There's a 1 here, there's a 0 there. So if the 0.1 comes before any of these, that one's out as well. Again, leaving us with C, 0.03, 0.035, 0.099, 0.1. All right. Let's take a look at number 4. Word problem here. And we have, I always like to go when it's a word problem. Let me just zoom out a little bit. I always like to go to the question stem. What am I being asked to do? What fraction of the total number of people surveyed responded that they do subscribe to the video service? All right. Of the 2,500 people surveyed about whether or not they subscribe to a video service streaming, 52% of them say they do not. Be careful, okay? Because they might give you a number that's do not, and here they're asking who does. So if 52% do not, then 48% do, right? Because 52 plus 48 equals 100. Okay? So 48% of the 2,500 people do subscribe. So you do get a calculator on this exam. just pull over here. You do get a calculator on this exam, but it is on screen. You're not going to get a handheld. So what I recommend you do is you use the on-screen calculator that you get with your computer. There are also apps you can download, okay? And get used to using that mouse because you don't get to have a handheld. I'm using a handheld today because I'm live online and I don't want to make a bunch of mistakes with my math. So I'm going to use my handheld, but you won't get a handheld. You got to use the computer. Now, if you have accommodations, you may get a handheld calculator if it's part of your accommodations, but I don't know. They're kind of strict about that. All right. So 48% of 2,500. So what do we do that? 2,500 times 0.48 equals 1,200. That means 1,200 out of 2,500 do subscribe. That's my answer. Now, here's the thing. It doesn't say reduce the fraction. It just says what fraction of the total number of people. Now, could this also be 12 over 25? Yes. So when you have to type in an answer, this could be, I usually like to reduce, but 12 over 25 works, but 1,200 over 2,500 also works because it didn't say make sure the fraction is reduced. So notice what we did there. If 52% do not, what percent do? 48. 48 of this many people. So we multiply 2,500 times, of means times, 0.48 or 48%, depending on what calculator you're using. I always do 0.48 because 48% equals 0.48. All right. Multiply that. Then I get my number, which is 1,200 out of 2,500. That's my answer. Or you can reduce and do 12 over 25. All right. Moving on. Okay. Right away, I want to think like a test maker and look at my answer choices. And I can see I have percentage increase, decrease, increase. All right. So let's try to eliminate whether it's an increase or a decrease, because that's the easiest way to eliminate answers right away. All right. So it says in 2012, the population of manatees was 6,550. And then in 2019, it was 8,750. What percentage of change? Well, if it went from 6,550 to 8,750, we have an increase, yes? So let's take out the decreases. And again, you may say, wow, they do that? Yes, they do. So take them out. Okay? Now, the best way to do this, in my opinion, and there's a ton of ways to do it, but for people who struggle with percents, here's what I'm going to say. You're going to take the original minus the new and put that over the original. And that's going to give you your answer. Now, you might get a negative here on the top number. Forget it. It doesn't matter. Because we're doing an increase, you might get a negative. Watch. Let me show you. Sorry. All right. Original. What's the original? Well, we started in 2012 with 6,550. So let's do 6,550 minus the new, minus 8,750 over 6,550. Okay. So let's get out our calculator and do 6,550 minus 8,750 equals. We get negative 2,220. Just take 2,220. I'm sorry. 2,200, sorry, it's 2,200 over 6,550. Okay. Now, if we look at our answer choices, we have 25%, 33%, 35%. Okay. In order to get a percent like that, that's not over 100%, anything less than 100%, you're going to have a smaller number on the top than you are on the bottom. So just make sure you do that. Keep thinking like a test maker. Look at everything here. So if I have 2200 divided by 6,550, I get, this is my number, 0.3358. Okay. 3358 is 33. We move the decimal 1-2 because 0.3358 is 33.6%, making C the correct answer. So the way you do this is the original minus the new over the original. And that'll get you the answer every time. Because we increased, this new number is actually bigger than the original. You're going to get a negative 2,200. Forget it. Just forget about the negative. We're looking for the percentage here. That's how I would do it. I know other people would do it differently. That's okay. Do what works for you. All right, let's have a look at number 6. We've got a pie chart here. Really quickly, thinking like a test maker, I can see I have percentages and I'm missing a percentage here. Probably going to have to figure out that percent and probably do a little bit more because figuring out the percent is a little too easy. The pie chart shows results of 300 students. So this is important. We have a total of 300 students. Favorite elective in high school. How many students chose photography? It doesn't say what percentage of students chose photography. It says how many students. All right. So really quickly, this whole pie chart is going to add up to 100%, correct? So if we have 25% for cooking, 15% for ceramics, 28, can you guys see? 28% for drawing, 8% for Spanish. We have 76%, which means photography is 24%. Photography is 24%. Okay. Now, don't put 24%. If you're moving quickly and this is a type in your answer, you might type in 24 and you might say, oh, I wouldn't do that. You might if you're stressed about you're moving too quickly and you're not thinking. It's asking, always go back to the question stem. How many students? Well, what's 24% of 300? 0.24 of times 300. 72. 72 out of 300 kids. Check it. 72 divided by 300, and I get 20.24, 24%. It's a way to check. So this would be your answer there. Be careful. Do the whole problem till the end. All right. The next one is a rate of change. This is like a slope-intercept problem. When you get problems like this on the test, if you're not good at these, guess and move on because you might do better at some of the other ones towards the end of the test. And if this is going to mess you up, there's no sense in wasting time. You do not need 100% on this math test. You need about a low D, like a 62% to be in the safe zone here. So if you miss one, that's fine. If this is too much for you, guess and move on. Hopefully it's a multiple choice. I made this one a fill in the blank to make it harder. Okay. So we have this. I can see a table here. Tables typically mean rate of change, X and Y. This is going to be a slope problem. I'm going to show you in a second. Don't worry. It's not that hard. During a 10K race, a runner was clocked at times and distances shown in the table. How many kilometers per minute was a participant running? Round to the nearest 10th. All right. So we have him starting here and we start to clock him when he's at 1.3 at 4.5 minutes. And then he ran 5.1 more in 12 minutes. All right. So when we talk about the rate of change, we're talking y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That's all you have to remember. Now you might say, oh my God, I don't know. I don't remember that. Listen, the first column is the x column, and this is 1, and this is 2. The second column is the y column, and this is 1, and this is 2. Typically on a table. And if you got kids at high school, they're going to ask these questions on the SAT. They get to use the Desmos calculator. All you have to do is put the table in the Desmos calculator, and it does it for you. Hey guys, I lost my screen. Hold on. Can you see me now? Sorry. Can you see me now? Hello? Okay, should be good now. I'm on. All right. I'm so sorry. This is what happens when you go live. Things happen. All right. I'm going back. I'm going back to the rate of change. So sorry. And that was the hardest problem I have on the whole thing. Okay. All right. Here we go. Rate of change. What is Y2? Y2 is 12. So let's do 12 minus 4.5 over X2 minus X1. 5.1 minus 1.3. Okay. So just take out your handy dandy calculator. 12 minus 4.5 equals 7.5. Okay. Over 5.1 minus 1.3 equals 3.8. Now, we need to divide. Here we go. 7.5 divided by 3.8 equals 1.973, and it says round to the nearest tenth. Is this right? Let me see. Hang on. Let's go to, actually, yes, let's go here. What number was that? 7. Sorry, I want to check. I want to see what my 0.5 kilometers. Okay, wait a minute. I did something wrong. 0.5 kilometers. What am I doing here? And distances. During a 10K race, a runner clocked at times. Distances shown at the table. 7.5. How many kilometers per minute? Kilometers per minute. Why is it not doing it? 7.5 divided by 3.8. Hang on. Let's try it again. I'm making mistakes here. Let me know in the chat. You got math people in the chat. Where's my mistake happening? Let me stop here. Let's see here. Talk to me. Anybody? Where did I make my mistake? Let me do this really quickly. During a 10K race, yes, it's Y2 over Y1 over X2 minus X1, right? 12 minus 4.5 over 5.1 minus 1.3. Let's see. Let me know, math people. For some reason, I just did it too. Let me see. I'm going to have to go back to this one. Let me go. I had it in Chat GPT. Hold on, please. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to screenshot this and just put it into Chat GPT really quick and figure out where I'm going wrong with this. This is the beauty of live TV, guys. I worked all of these out, and why am I not? I just have this one. Let's see here. Speed calculation. All right. Change in distance, change in time. 5.1 minus 5.3. Oh, I have them flipped. Why though? X2 minus X1 over. I thought it was Y2 minus Y1. Change in Y over the change in X. Change in Y over change in X. 12 minus 4 over 5 minus 1, which gives me change in distance over change in time. So it's X2 over X1. I thought it was Y2 over Y1. Change in distance over change in time. Change in Y over change in X. It's because I have the two columns switched. So let's try it again. Here we go. X on the top. Yes. Sorry, guys. This is live. So let's go back. Here we go. Okay. Because it's asking kilometers per minute, it should be the change in X over the change in Y. So it should be X2 minus X1 over Y2 minus Y1. Sorry. Here we go. So we have X1, X2, Y1, Y2. Let's start with the change in X. We have 5.1 because that's the change. 5.1 minus 1.3 minus 1.3. And then we have 12 minus 4.5, which gives us, I believe, 3.8. 5.1 minus 1.3 is 3.8 over 12 minus 4.5, 7.5. This looks more like it. 3.8 divided by 7.5 equals 0.5. Okay, because it said round to the nearest tenth. This is the tenth. The answer is 0.5066, but we're rounding to this. And if this is a 0, this is going to stay the same here. So 0.5. Sorry about that. A little bit of a miscalculation there. All right, let's have a look at number 8. Now, this is a proportion, and it's giving you some extra information here. So they'll do this a lot on the exam. So right away, I'm zeroing in on this, and I can see that I have a proportion or a ratio. Whenever you see a ratio, I want you to think of proportion. So we have a model of a statue measures 8 inches wide and 6 inches tall. If the scale of the model to the actual statue, so there's a model and then there's an actual statue, is inches to feet, meaning the model is inches and the actual statue is feet of 2 to 5. What is the height of the actual statue? All right, we have inches over feet equals inches over feet. I talk a lot about this when it comes to proportions. You want to think matchy when it comes to proportions. Whatever you have on the top, you have to have the same thing on the top on the other side. Whatever you have on the bottom, you have to have the same thing on the bottom on the other side. You could put feet over inches equals feet over inches, but it's got to be the same on both sides. In this case, I'm going to keep it the way it reads, inches 2 to 5. For every 2 inches, it's actually 5 feet in real life is what it's saying here. All right. So we want to do inches over feet equals inches over feet. Now, it's asking you about the height, not the width. So we can get rid of this. A lot of you will be like, oh, 6 over 8 equals 2 over 5. What do I do now? No. For proportion to work, you have to have 3 out of the 4 values in these fractions. For example, let me show you. We're only talking about height. So we have 6 inches over X. We don't know how many feet it's going to be. And we're going to use the 2 to 5 ratio. Inches over feet equals inches over feet. We're not sure exactly how many feet tall it is. We know it's 6 inches tall based on that. All right. So let's go ahead and cross multiply and solve. That's how you do this. So we get 30 equals 2x. Divide by 2, divide by 2, x equals 15. 15 is your answer there. All right. One more time. We have a ratio. Right away, I'm going to think proportion. Inches over feet equals inches over feet. We're only talking about tallness. We're not talking about width. So I can get rid of this 8. All right. So I have 6 inches. I'm not sure how many feet tall that is. But if I multiply it by 2 over 5, or if I make it equal to 2 over 5 and cross multiply, I can find it. So I have 6 inches is, I'm not sure how many feet, equals 2 inches to 5 feet. Cross multiply, I get 30 because 6 times 5 is 30, and I get equals 2x. And then you use algebra to solve. That's how proportions will help you on the exam. This one is also kind of a proportion as well. How many questions do I have? I got a lot. Okay, I got 18 questions. We got to move. You guys, it's been a 2-hour webinar. Okay, let's move. One more. We have 64 of the 320 teachers in a district responded that they want to work on Saturday before school so that they could trade that day for a duty day. So they're saying, we'll work a Saturday and then give us a day off for duty day. All right. If there are 6,420 teachers in the whole district, how many teachers in the district want to work on Saturday? All right. So this is a proportion as well. So 64 of the 32 said they wanted to work on Saturday. So part over total of the teachers surveyed equals, I'm not sure how many in real life, but I do have the total here. We have part over total for the survey equals part over total for the actual amount. You'll see this done with populations of animals where they tag animals one day, right? And so you're looking at how many animals you tagged one day versus how many you tagged another day. It's basically part over total equals part over total. In this case, 64 of the 320 that were surveyed want to do that. Well, how does that translate to all the teachers in the district? So part over total equals part over total, cross multiply and solve. You'll get some big numbers here. So if we do 64 times 6420, we get 410,880 equals 320x, because we're going to multiply 320 by x. So we're going to divide 410,880 divided by 320, and we get 1284. 1,284 out of 6,420 want to work that Saturday so they can get the day off in the year. All right, now let's take a look at scatter plots here. Now, the reason why they want you to do scatter plots on here is because they want you to be able to read data as a teacher. That's their rationale for putting them on here, okay? Let me zoom out a little bit. All right, so right away, I'm looking at this scatter plot here, and I can see that it is a positive scatter plot. It's moving in a positive direction. If all the dots were like this, going down, and they were tight, they made sort of a line, they go down like that. All right, that would be a negative correlation. But in this case, this is a positive correlation. So right away, it has a positive slope. So even if you know nothing, let's eliminate to make it easier on you. We have this right here, y equals mx plus b. M is the slope. And in this case, our slope, it's sloping in a positive direction. This is what we want our investments to look like. This is what we want our bank account to look like. This is what we want our kids' test scores to look like, right? We want them to go up. So anything with a negative slope, we can delete or we can get rid of. Well, M is the slope, so that means 2 is the slope. 2 is positive, I'm keeping it. -2, can I get rid of it? Yeah, because we got a positive slope. 1/2 is positive, 1/2 is positive, -1/2 is negative. So right away, I've gotten rid of B and E. Now listen, on test day, you may have 4 out of 5 that are negative. Cross them off, grab the positive, move on. That's the right answer. You don't have to do anything else. And a lot of times that will be it, because they know you've been out of school for a long time and haven't done this. But again, I'm making it hard on you. All right. But that's the first step. We have a positive slope and we need to get rid of any negative slopes in the answer choices, which we did. B has a -2 and E has a -1/2. Remember, M is slope. All right. Now, what's B? B is the y-intercept, where the line starts on this line here, right here. So I'm looking at 6 here. This is 6. If the line crossed the y-axis at 6, all these dots would be like this. Is that happening? No. The line is starting, it's crossing the y-axis somewhere around here, somewhere between 0 and 2. So I can cross off C. Now, I'm still making it hard on you guys because it could start at 0.4 and it could start at 1 because it's a scatter plot. I don't have an exact number here. One thing I want you to pay attention to, though, is this. Right here on the y-axis, it's going 2, 4, 6. This is moving in increments of 2. The bottom, the x-axis, is moving in increments of 1. Be careful. All right, so now I've got it narrowed down to A or D. All right, now we need to figure out if the slope is 2 over 1. Let me just get rid of all this. Let me make it easy, okay? We're between A and D. We're looking at this slope and we're looking at this slope. All right. This slope is 2 over 1 and this slope is 1 over 2. Is it 2 over 1 or 1 over 2? So let's have a look. Rise over run. So this is rise 2. So let's start at 0 and go up 2. Now, really, I only go up 1 block because it's in increments of 2. See how this goes 2, 4, 6, 8? So I go up 1, or well, you go up 1, but it's really up 2, over 1, 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 up 2, over 1. Here we go. Do you see how these dots are following that line? Right away, I know that A is the answer because 2 over 1 is the slope. Now, I doubt you'll have to do all that. You'll probably only have to look at the slope and maybe the y-intercept, and you can get it on that. And listen, if you're one of those who's like, I don't like this, then just try to find the positive slope, or it could have been a negative one, depending on the question you get. Grab that and move on. But this is the way to do it. Now, let's test the 1/2 slope, rise over run. Okay, 1/2 over 1. Well, if I'm going up 1/2, or I'm sorry, not 1/2 over 1, 1 over 2. It's a 1/2, right? 1/2. So if I go up 1, I'm actually going in the middle here because these blocks are 2 each, right? So I go up 1 over 2, 1 over 2, 1 over 2, 1 over 2. Sorry. 1 over 2. Do you see how this line is way below? It has a much lower slope, or a much less inclined slope, not the technical word for that. So this is the slope, making A the correct answer. All right, let's talk really quick about number 11. Look, this is sort of going in a negative direction, but it's not a strong correlation. When you have the dots all over the place, it's not strong. If they're tight like this one, see how this one makes a nice kind of line with the dots? That's a strong correlation. This is a weak correlation. And if they're like this, let's say the dots are like all over there, that's no correlation, 0 correlation. In this case, they are sort of moving in this direction, but it's weak. All right, so there is a strong, cross it off. There is a strong, cross it off. It's not no either. There is a correlation going here. It is a weak positive correlation. All right, let's keep moving. This one's a tough one. This is probability, and many of you struggle with probability. A paper bag contains 6 red squares, some yellow squares, and 8 blue squares. If the probability of selecting a yellow square is 5 out of 12, how many yellow squares are in the bag? All right, so they're giving us the probability. So let's do a little equal sign here. 5 over 12. All right, that's the probability of choosing a yellow square. But we don't know how many yellow squares we have. Typically, if we're given a question like this, it's part over whole, right? So let's go ahead and try to figure out how many yellow squares we have based on this, all right? So part, I'm going to make yellow Y, okay, to stand for yellow, right? So if we're looking for yellow squares over total, I don't know what it is. So I got to just put a Y here, okay? Over total. Well, what's the total? 6 plus 8 plus Y. 6 plus 8 plus Y. That's the total. 6 plus 8 is 14. And don't do 14Y. It's not 14 times Y. It's 14 plus Y. So if I were going to combine that, it would be 14 plus Y. Be careful. If you do 14Y, it's not going to work. Now, just like before, we're going to cross multiply and solve. And I get 12Y. And basically, we're just taking this and multiplying it by 5 equals 70 plus 5Y. 5 times 14 is 70. 5 times Y is 5Y. Now it's an algebraic equation. Let's put the Y on one side and the number on the other. So let's subtract 5Y from here, subtract 5Y from here. Look what it's doing. It's setting up very nicely. 7Y equals 70, Y equals 10. D. There are 10 yellow squares. Let's check. Probability 5 over 12. Obviously, it's reduced. Okay. So 10 over 14 plus 10, 24. Does 10 over 24 equals 5 over 12? Yes. You could try to guess that and everything. Those of you who are math savvy probably didn't need to do all that, but it would be really hard for people who are not good with probability to guess that. Because if I reduce by 2, if I divide by 2, 10 divided by 2 is 5, 24 divided by 2 is 12. You could sort of guess it with the answer choices and all that, but I just recommend a quick algebraic equation. All right, let's have a look at algebra and geometry. Choose all of the following that are equivalent to 4a squared. Be very careful here. This is about combining like terms. 2a plus 2a is 4a, not 4a squared. The first one's out. 4a times a is 4a squared because a times a is a squared. So yes, we're doing that box. 6a cubed minus 2a, this next one here, that is as reduced as it can get because the base is a to the third and the other base is a, and we have a subtraction sign. You can't, if that were a multiplication sign or a division sign, you could do it, but you can't here. It's subtraction. It's reduced as possible. Now let's have a look at this one here. I want to show you guys this. When we're talking about exponents, oh, I hope you can see that. When we're talking, this is division, 8a to the fourth divided by 2a squared, all right? So we're going to divide this 2 into 8, and we get 4. And when we are dividing exponents, we subtract them. So this is 4 minus 2, a to the 2, 4a squared. Yes, indeed, do it. So we've got the second box and the fourth box. 3a squared plus a squared, yep, that equals 4a squared because we have this is basically 1a squared. We have the same basis, a squared. We can add the 3 and the 1. So yes. So our boxes for this one are the second one, the fourth one, and the fifth one. 2, 4, and 5 boxes. All right. All right, a factory worker makes 12 items per hour. So 12 items over 1 hour. If the worker started the day with 40 items, how long will it take him to have 76 items? All right. So if we started with 40 items and we go to 76, how many items did they have to make? 36, right? Well, if they do 12 items per hour, we divide 36 by 12 and we get 3. It would take them 3 hours. This is just sort of a convoluted thing. He started with 40. He has to get to 76. That means he's got to make 36 more items. And if he makes 12 items per hour, he's going to need 3 hours to get to 36. All right, number 15. Whenever you see this, everybody freaks out about this. Let me tell you what they do on the exam. This is a think like a test maker one for sure. If you see inequality signs like we have here, slow down and figure out if you have a set amount of things that you can do. For example, it says, John has $300 to spend. That means we can spend $300. Or we can spend less than $300. Can we spend $300.01? No. Can we spend $310? No. We can only spend $300 or less than. The only answer choice, and let me not confuse you because I underlined them here. The only answer choice with a less than or equal to $300 is right here. And let me tell you, they will do that. There will only be one. Grab it. And really all we're saying here is $300 pants and shirts cost $300, 30S. So every shirt costs $30 and pants cost $48. So 30S plus 48P is less than or equal to 300. That is the only way to do this. Pay attention. When you see this, really zero in on what you're doing. Typically, it's less than or equal to because you can't spend more. All right, let's keep going. I'll get you guys out of here. I'm spending a little too much time, but a lot of people need help with the Praxis core. So given the equation 2a plus 5b equals a, what is a in terms of b? all we have to do, and look at our answer choices, we have to get all of the A's on one side. So we got to use algebra here. All right. So 2A plus 5B equals 8. Let's subtract 5B here. Subtract 5B. Whatever I do to one side, I do to the other, and I get 2A equals 8 minus 5B. Now I need to isolate that A. Divide by 2, divide by 2, divide by 2. And I get A equals 4 minus 5 over 2B, making A the correct answer. Just moving things around. All right, let's have a look at this. What is the value of X in the figure below? All right, this gets people scared also. I'm just making sure we're live here. This makes people scared as well. So we're looking at angles, all right? One thing to remember, vertical angles are equal. So this angle and this angle are going to be equal to one another. This angle and this angle are going to be equal to one another. That is helpful. Also, triangles equal 180 degrees. Well, why is that important? Well, I've got 90 degrees here, 40 degrees here. What's this angle here? 90 plus 40 is 130. 180 minus 130 is 50. So this little area here is 50. Now, there's something else we can do. If this angle is 90, then this angle is 90. So this little angle here is 40, right here. Right? Because that's a right angle. If it's a right angle down here, it's a right angle up here. Because these are parallel. It says that. All right? So really, we're saying if vertical angles are equal, then X plus 10 equals 40, right? Because this angle and this angle are equal. Subtract, subtract, X equals 30. So a couple other things to remember on this, and then I'll get to the last problem here. Just so you know, there's several ways to do this. Triangles equal 180, making this 50. These lines here equal 180, right? So this is 40 here. That would mean this is 90. So if we're looking at vertical angles, then this angle and this angle are equal. So this could be 130. X plus 10 plus 130 equals 180. Let's see if this works out. Yeah, it works out. No, 130. I'd have to take a minute to do it. But listen, one of the ways that you can make sure is that as soon as you see a triangle in here, know that it equals 180. And if this is 90, this is going to be 50. And if this is 50 and this angle here equals 90, then that's 40. And then these vertical angles are equal to one another. I'm trying to think if that looks like a vertical angle to me. I have to check it out. I have to work that one. But 30 is the answer. All right. And the last one is a geometry, and it's a circumference area of a circle type question, okay? If the area of a circle is 64 pi, and you guys will get a reference sheet, what is the circumference of the circle? So we're getting the area. What is the circumference? So let's just figure this out. The area is on a two-dimensional figure is this, all of this. If it's a square, then this is the area, okay? All of that. Now, they're telling us the area equals pi r squared. Circumference equals 2 pi r. These will be in your formula sheet. You do get a formula sheet. It's on screen. You click it and you'll see it. Well, if area equals pi r squared, that means pi r squared equals 64 pi, because didn't they say the area of the circle is 64 pi? Therefore, 64 equals pi r squared. Now, I can get rid of these pi's because I have them both on each side. So if I were to divide by pi on both sides, they would go away. So r squared equals 64. Well, I need r because I need 2 pi r. I need to figure out what the radius is. Square root both sides to find out r. R equals 8. Now plug it in. C equals 2 pi 8. C equals 16 pi because we multiply these two. C is the answer. I go over a lot more geometry in the online course, but that will help you there. All right, we went way over today. Let me get out of here and answer some questions. I am so sorry, but I did all the math. And the reference sheet is a formula sheet, reference sheet. Okay, the angles. Please do a math only review next Saturday, please. I can't do it next Saturday, Mike T, but I will do a math. I will schedule a math. Do you teach or set up recordings during your online courses? I have in the online course. Let me just show you the math online course here, you guys, if you're struggling. Let me just go to, where are we? There we go. In the math, I go through every single practice test question and quiz question. So you can see, like, here are the practice tests. And then I go through the answer explanations one by one. And I bracket them out by in tens. So you don't have to watch a whole entire video. You can actually just go, oh, it's 1 through 10. I actually only had a question on 4. Let me do number 4. Or you can just watch them all and just go through the test as I go through the test. You can do that. They're all here. All right. And there's a lot more algebra there. I do a lot more there. So that is the online course, which you can get on my website under online courses, test prep, Praxis core. Now you can get the whole thing, which comes with the digital book, or you can get the online course by itself, just the math. Maybe you only need the math. You can get just that. All right. You can break this up. Now we are offering physical books now on my website, but let me tell you a little something about the physical books. We are offering them, and you can use your offer code CORE20 on this book today, but that's going to end on Sunday for these physical books because it's expensive for me to print these. And if I give 20% off, I actually lose money. So do it for this weekend. That's fine. But after that, after Sunday night, the 20% off is going to expire. So if you want a physical book from my website to use the offer code, you can use it through Sunday. Monday morning, it won't be ready. And it won't be there anymore. On Amazon, you can buy this, get it in 2-day shipping. But I can't do offer codes. That's why I wanted to offer it on my website so I could give you guys offer codes. I can't do offer codes on Amazon because they're the publisher. Okay. So that's what I would recommend for this. If you want a physical copy and you want to use your coupon, buy from my online course, and we will send you that link in the email, or buy from my website. If you want it in 2 days, go to Amazon. Let me show you where you can get all of my Praxis Core products. Okay. All right. So if you go under our programs and you go under core, you'll be able to see them all here. Okay. You can go under study guides under Praxis Core here. You can buy all the subtests, and this is digital. If you want them by subtest, it's digital. Okay. And it's emailed to you. You can also get the full thing digitally for $42.99. It's less money than the physical. All right. Now, if you want the physical, if you go under, where did I go? Our programs. Let's see here. Core. Let's go. Do we have the physical? This is an old page. Let's see. Study guides, Praxis Core. We'll give you a link to it. I don't know how I got to that core collections page. Here it is. So under online courses, it took us here and to this here. This is the physical book. It's going to take about 9 to 10 days to get to you if you want a physical book from our website. I'm just telling you, it's a little different. Amazon is a printing mega store. But I want to show you real quickly here. We have tons of 5-star reviews on our Praxis Core. We have a button here for Amazon. We have a ton of 5-star reviews on this new book. This is our new Praxis Core. We have an old one that people do, but this one's the best. This old one has a lot more reviews, so people buy it. It's still great. This one has more reading passages and things like that. The math is identical. So if you already bought the old one, you're fine. You do not need a new one. Buy it new, please. Used is going to have writing in it. I'm sorry. I know you want to save money, but you do not want writing in your book. Like, you need to have a fresh book. You can always buy it from me physically. And in the email, we're going to send you that direct link if you'd like to find it physically. But that offer code is going to expire by Sunday night, midnight. Okay. Let me see. Oh, another thing that you can do here is if you want some free stuff, you can go to my YouTube channel. I have a math playlist there. I have tons of math information there for you. All right. Another place where I am is TikTok. Please follow me on TikTok. I've got a lot of small micro learning there, which is a lot of fun. And I've got a bunch of stuff for you. You guys know I have everything you need. We're going to hook it up. Okay. Anika absolutely loves the physical book. Definitely worth every penny. I'm so glad, Anika. People keep asking about 5003. This is the 5003 math is different. There are some similarities, but what I would do is just work through those math skills. 5003 is the elementary education math. Today we did the general knowledge math or the Praxis core math. This is a different webinar. I do have a webinar on the 5001 if you want to check that out. But a lot of the stuff we went through on the math today is on the elementary ed. The elementary ed is a tough math test. So definitely work on those skills. All right. Keep working, guys. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm so sorry I kept you for so long today, but I wanted to get through all the math, and I will definitely I will definitely set up an all math section, an all math one for you guys. I haven't done that in a while and I need to. All right. Deborah has the digital core. Awesome. Listen, you guys, you've done enough studying for today. Go relax, do something fun. Thank you so much for being here. And I really appreciate it. And I appreciate you being teachers. And I know this is hard and I know this is expensive. And right now we do not need the extra expense. So use those offer codes as much as you want. You can also piece together a free program with my stuff. These webinars, my YouTube videos, my TikTok videos, ChatGPT. I mean, you can piece together a free program if you're broke. All right. WGU students, thank you so much for being here. I love it. I was a college professor for a while and I do miss it a lot, but I'm so blessed and happy that you are here. And I really appreciate all of you. All right, guys, let us know if you have any questions, info@kathleenjasper.com, and we will be happy to answer them. And be on the lookout for our follow-up email with everything you need to know and everything I talked about in this. So you're going to get that. If you're watching on social, click the link, sign up, and you'll get everything as well. All right, everybody. So sorry for keeping you so long. Have a great day. Bye-bye.